Welcome to ISRA League's Grand Touring Championship, brought to you by the Z1 SimWheel LCD display and LCD display software. Head to z1simwheel.com and you can get all of these dashboards and telemetry readouts on your sim rig or on another computer attached to it. And also they have some great wheels for offer, and you can find it all at z1simwheel.com. Welcome to Season 9, Race 9 at Phillips Island. I'm Daniel Quaroni, and with me here are Anthony Muniz.
Great to be with you guys tonight.
And Brian Carey.
Hello, everyone out there.
Alright, well, we've come off of a pretty successful race at Watkins Glen, and now we're rounding towards the end of the season. James Cullen in the HPDs has a lead, but it's not completely locked tight. Anthony Muniz and Brian Carey, teammates there, are fighting for second, very close together. Then Daniel Quaroni sort of in the middle with Brent Briles, Dimas Milana, Ryan Huff, Troy Harder, and Lance Snyder, all fighting within 9 points of each other. Over in the Radicals, Russell Cow pretty much has it locked up. This race, if he can score really any points at all, will do it. Lauren Bateman and John Kuzlin still battling for second, though. And Carl Mumpower, just for showing up, is going to take home the fourth prize. Finally, in Ford GT, we have Todd Carver leading Corey Davis by 3 points and Daniel Gralty by 5 points. But that's a championship that is still definitely completely wide open. And these last two races are going to be the deciding factor. So that's very exciting there. Eduardo Beninca dropping down a little bit from where they are. And take it away, Brian.
All right, we can see here Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit here is a favorite of the Australian V8 supercars. Not something that's run a lot for modern Grand Prix cars, but anyways, point is, it's still called the Grand Prix circuit. We have the Gardner Straight Doohan corner, which is extremely fast in the HPD. I don't think it's actually flat out. Well, it can be flat out in the HPD, but barely. But very difficult corner for everyone, especially when the HPD is lapping slower cars. Honda corner, corner number 4 is going to be a very good passing opportunity there. And then down the Lucky Heights, which is a very, very difficult corner. It's kind of hard to tell on the map, but it's extremely uphill and down into the hairpin there at turn 10, which is probably the most difficult braking zone and corner in the track. So watch for some incidents there.
In qualifying, Brian Carey takes the pole with a 116.956. Andy Fuller is next to him with a 117.1. Then on the second row, James Cullen, wow, he's third? Next to Anthony Muniz in fourth, then Troy Harder and Daniel Quaroni on the third row there. Ryan Huff and Brent Briles on the fourth, and John Kelly and Jerry Morsdorf on the fifth.
All right, so radical qualifying, yes, it probably did happen. I think there's some numbers on there, but Russell Cow taking the pole position with a 125.3. Lauren Bateman alongside him with a 125.7. Julio Blasio right beside him, or behind him, 125.7, and then John Kuzlin, 125.8. So very close for who's here. Sam Taylor also joining the race. Did not qualify, and hopefully he'll get to start this race.
Wyatt Foster makes a return to the series and qualifies on pole for the Ford GTs with Eduardo Beninca just beside him. Todd Carver and Daniel Gralty will be on the second row with Corey Davis and Timothy Stola on the third. Renee Weisflog and Marty Jeffries will be on the fourth with Stephen Clark and Matthew Voigt running out the top 10 in the Ford GTs.
All right, we still have a little ways to go before the cars make their way all the way back to the front straight. This is a very tricky section right here. Big braking zone. Brake zone where the HPDs are very fast compared to the other cars, and very tricky all around since the right side of the track comes up real quick on you if you're not careful. So watch for incidents there. We've got the clock.
Lucky Heights, yeah.
Pace cars in, and Brian Carey is taking the field off. Looks like Andy Fuller got a little bit of dirt on his tires, but didn't have any troubles.
And looks like Brian Carey gets a nice jump. Everyone looks like they're heading into single files as we head into turn 1. Andy Fuller, top 4 cars have kind of broken away already using the draft and the good jump they got off the start. It looks like a couple packs have broken out and getting a little obstructed there by the trees. And James Cullen's going to be looking to see if he can't get past these two Kaiser Rennsport cars, although Andy Fuller is unfortunately missing his paint on his car. But a little bit further back in the Radicals have big crash actually there with LMP off. I believe that was Brent Briles. Looks like Julio Palacio managed to make it through, but there's a couple.
Lauren Bateman going flying off track there. There's Brent Briles missing a nose.
It takes quite a big impact to chop the nose off those LMPs there, so he must have gotten into someone pretty good.
Looks like the man that started in on the pole for the Radicals, Russell Cow, able to get through, but loses a position. He's down in second place. 4GTs looks like they've made it through well enough. They're still fighting side by side as they go into the hairpin here with Corey Davis and Timothy Stoll. So it looks like he'll have the position if he can stick it around. Yep, he'll stick it around as they head through turn 6.
Those 4GTs are packed in tight as we've got James Cullen now attacking for second place. That's Andy Fuller just ahead of him. And let's see if he's got enough of a run here. It's going to be a kind of flat out corner here, so you're really going to have to get alongside. Next corner is going to be a left, so if Cullen's got the inside there, but he's not going to have the inside for the next corner, but I think he's got enough space and he's been able to, well, let's see if he's able to pull off side by side.
Can he hold the grip on the outside? It's very, very close, but he does do it. He does get ahead of Andy Fuller and take the second spot.
See if Fuller's able to come back at him here down into the hairpin. That's actually a good sequence of corners. The first couple corners and down into this first hairpin, turn 4, is a good chance for guys. Left, right, get position. Each corner presents each driver with a different advantage, and down into the hairpin's another opportunity to pass. So lots of action there.
Now back in the Radicals, Russell Kyle trying to fight his way back to the top of the field. He's got Julio Palacio just in front of him. Everyone else in the Radicals, as Russell Kyle's going to make a look up the inside, going into the turn 4 hairpin. It's on the corner, and he'll make the pass for first place on Palacio. The other two Radicals are quite a bit back. Lauren Bateman is, I believe, over a minute back from second place, and John Kuzlin is in the pit lane, both of them actually in the pit lane, so they were involved in that turn 2 incident on lap 1, unfortunately. So the Radical class, already very small, has been cut in half, so don't expect too much racing from those guys this race, but it's still very close between the 4 GTs. Daniel Gralty currently in 4th place. He has Todd Carver right in his sights as they head through that tricky turn 9 corner and then down into the turn 10 hairpin. That's a good view of how up steep that hill is, and expect once the LMPs catch up, expect guys to be going to the outside to get around the slower traffic.
Yeah, it's going to be not too long here. Very, very short lap for the LMPs timing-wise. Right about 1 minute 10 seconds. Well, not quite that, but near enough. So and it's quite a bit faster than the 4 GTs.
Yeah.
Like Anthony Muse has got a bit of a run here, and Andy Fuller. I don't think there's going to be a lot of space for him to get by as the track kind of snakes around here. But looks like Fuller is kind of struggling a little bit at the beginning of this race, dropping back quite significantly from his front row starting spot. And Clark Reed back in the series in the pink and purple number 34 there, battling with Tim McLeish's steam whistle sponsored 4 GT.
And Clark pushing a little bit wide as he exited turn 2, but he managed to keep the power down and stay on the back of Tim McLeish. That's a battle for 11th spot in the 4 GTs.
On board with Anthony Muniz here as he's kind of falling behind Andy Fuller. One of the things of this track, if you're able to keep within about a second, just under a second of the car ahead, it's that long front straightaway there, really able to keep in touch, and wasn't able to make up much ground going through those first couple corners, but Anthony Muniz still keeping directly behind Andy Fuller there. Actually, that corner there, you just see him coming down the hill there. When you're braking, basically the track is falling away from you. It's basically virtually taking the grip off the tire, so you're almost falling down the hill. Inherently, gravity's going to take you down if you want to pick up speed, and you're trying desperately to slow that car down, so it makes the braking zone very, very interesting, I guess, to say the least.
And the draft not having quite as big of an effect as you would see on the LMPs here with the 4 GT, but Gralty making up a little bit of the gap between himself and Todd Carver as they head down into turn 1. Looks like also that was Eduardo Beninca up there just in front of that, so that is a three-way battle basically for second place in the 4 GTs.
Looks like James Cullen had a bit off there, and it's allowed Andy Fuller to get a big run and see if Andy Fuller's able to take advantage of that. He's alongside going into the first corner and see if he's able to hold it around the outside, but looks like James... Oh, and Fuller loses it quite a bit, and Muniz is able to get by, so that's a battle for position here. Dan Crony's going to pass Gilles Moret. That's a battle for 8th position. Crony taking that again. So already we're just over 5 minutes in, and tons of action so far. Looking forward to the remaining 70 minutes of this race.
Now back to the 4GTs as Gralty tries to see if he can't find a way around Todd Carver. Back to the turn 9 Lucky Heights as they head down into the turn 10 hairpin. That's the top. That's second, third, and fourth that we all had on the same screen right there. And that is a battle for second place once again. It looks like I think the fourth place, fifth place rather, excuse me, Tim Stahl wasn't too far behind this battle either, so about just over 1.5 seconds. So look for him to try. Yep, there he is right there. He's trying his best to catch up to this three-way battle as we head down into the really a whole GTC race left to go. Like Brian said, 70 minutes left. So this is a little bit longer than what we some of the other races we've had. But a lot of good action here already in the first 5 minutes. Also, just like to point out that the current leader of the 4GTs, Wyatt Foster, has already pulled roughly 3 seconds over second place Eduardo Beninca. So he's already got out and built himself a comfortable gap within the first, 8 minutes or so. Ooh, and Todd Carver is going to have to defend going into the hairpin from Daniel Gralty. It wasn't really an opportunity for Gralty, but he had a nice run coming down into the Honda corner and didn't want to give up that speed, so forced Todd Carver to have to defend there going on the inside.
Remember, Wyatt Foster from previous seasons is normally starting from pole by quite a margin and just pulling off into the distance, so it's only 3.5 seconds ahead of Eduardo Beninca as Marty Jeffries came nearly back to the series here is off the track, and now the LMPs are coming through some of the 4GTs, and this is when it's going to start to get dicey. First round is normally the most difficult, because normally these 4GTs are still pretty packed up. It's one thing to pass a 4GT, lapping them in practice, one 4GT at a time. It's another to catch a train of cars and trying to get past them.
And so we are looking here at Troy Harder, where we were, and Ryan Huff. We've switched now to Brian Carey and James Cullen again as they head down the front straight and try to get by as many 4GTs as they can before the first turn.
And look at the run that James Cullen, has all over Brian Carey as they head down into turn 1. Carey manages to hold on to that inside advantage as they head down into turn 1 and then turn 2, but James Cullen, had a great run coming down on him. So look for that. Looks like it's going to be a tough battle for first place in the LMPs. Brian Carey currently able to hold on, but James Cullen only a couple tenths off of his rear spoiler. So that should be an intense battle. Here's another close battle here for fifth place in the LMPs as they're making their way through the top 4GTs. This is between Troy Harder and Ryan Huff. Looks like also Andy Fuller will be involved in that. You can see him just up in front of this group. So LMP is losing quite a bit of time as they make their first pass through the 4GTs.
And that looks like an off.
Yeah, that was Anthony Muniz off the track.
Anthony Muniz, yes.
Yep.
I think that was coming out of the turn number 6 corner there.
And we ride on board with Cullen as he is right under the rear wing of Brian Carey as they head down onto the front straightaway. And you can see the draft working here. Cullen is going to pull right up to the back of Carey as head into turn 1, actually applying the brakes instead of pulling out along the outside. He's going to lose a little bit of momentum there. Not going to have an opportunity to drive up on one of the sides of Brian's car. So Carey going to hold on to that first place position for now, but it looks like Cullen has quite a bit of speed, and I'm not sure if he's actually faster than Carey, but it'll be interesting to see how those two play out for the remaining 65 minutes. Also, right now we're watching Todd Carver, and he has kind of separated himself a little bit from Daniel Gralty in the number 19 rather. His number changes all the time, but Todd Carver is closely battling with Beninca here for second place in class. He's going to have a nice look around the outside, though. So difficult to make a pass there, and Beninca successfully defends that second place position for the 4GTs.
Now Ryan Huff all over the back of Troy Harder here. That kind of closed up during traffic, and now it's giving Ryan a chance to battle him outright on the track. They're just flying around here now. You can really tell the speed and the difficulty of this track there when we got cars nose to tail like we have seen, and I'll be honest, we'll continue to see for most of this race.
now back to the battle that's happening for the overall league, and see Carey still holding on to that first place position from James Cullen. And Cullen's been about this far away from Carey for the last 3 laps or so, and they've managed to stick very, very close through traffic. So I'm sure Brian Carey would like to have a little bit larger of a gap between himself and Cullen once they made their way through the 4 GTs, but both of them navigating the 4 GTs quite nicely. Indeed it is, and he's going to lose a position to Corey Davis, so that's going to drop Gralty down 2 positions, also losing one to, I believe that was, did he, no. Timothy Stoll is actually, I thought he was going to lose one to Timothy Stoll, but Stoll is being shown back in 6th place, so he must have had an off somewhere, unfortunately. And so Gralty losing a position after going wide through the final corner. And Carey now is going to have to defend that out inside line going down into the turn 10 hairpin there as they make their way past Julio Palacio in the 2nd placed Radical.
It's actually pronounced Radical.
Radical, dude.
I'm honestly not sure if I can keep that up for the entire race. Fortunately, there seems to be only 2 of the Radicals running right now.
There you go.
Even though I have my headphones on, I can literally hear my wife upstairs shaking her head right now. But yeah, we've got Dan Gralty chasing down Corey Davis with John Kelly in the HPD right behind them. So he's just going to come flying past as they track it on the exit of this corner. You're going to see an HPD just to car left right now. There he is, going by at quite a high rate of speed here as the 4 GTs, since the last physics update we'd mentioned last broadcast, are a lot slower in a straightaway. And you can really see it here as this is a low down towards track. Actually, highest top speed for these cars. For the LMPs in particular, because of Phillips Island being basically right at sea level. iRacing does kind of keep in the amount of oxygen available for the engines to get the most horsepower. As we got side-by-side action, Gralty and Corey Davis looks like they're heading down to the turn 4 hairpin, I think.
You'd be correct, and Corey Davis is going to give that position to Gralty. You see he kind of went washed wide going through turn 2, and as they headed through that kink there, which is turn 3 down to the Honda corner, he just couldn't keep the power down and falls in behind Gralty, so that gives Gralty back 4th place position, but he's got quite a gap, just about 6 seconds up to these guys right here.
Todd Carver still working on Eduardo Benica. I wish you would on the forums, Eduardo, if you are reading this and hear us butchering your name, please correct us on the pronunciation, but we'll go Benica, I guess, for now. Todd Carver coming out of the last couple corners here, losing a little bit of ground, but this is a very, very tight battle still for 2nd place.
And another tight battle, but 1 place higher. It's Cullen still trying to chase down Brian Carey for that 1st place in the LMPs. This is actually probably one of the closest races we've had so far in the HPD. You can see them diving on the inside there of Tim McLeish heading through turn 9. Luckily he saw them and he was able to keep his car on the track, not wash wide there. He did. That could have been a nasty incident down there at turn 10, but we'll see if we're not going to stick with those guys. We'll go back to the battle for 2nd place in the 4 GTs, but hopefully we get another couple shots, maybe even an onboard one with Cullen as they head down that front straightaway, just to see how the draft really affects the HPDs. Ooh, as Todd Carver makes up a lot of ground on Beninca as they head under braking, rather, as they head into turn 4, and if he can get alongside on the driver's right, that he can definitely use that superior braking advantage to get alongside and make a pass, but he just needs to get alongside him first. Meanwhile, these 2 drivers here, Carey and Cullen, seem quite evenly matched right now. Even with the draft, James Cullen is still behind Brian Carey for 2nd place, or in 2nd place rather, as he made a quick charge past Andy Fuller right there at the beginning of the race, but we've been going for 15 minutes now, and Brian Carey is still leading the race in the LMP. A little bit of traffic here. You can see Brian Carey early on the brakes. Normally that is Well, you're not braking there, you're off the throttle in the HPD, but you see Cullen pulling right up to the rear. Brian Carey's going to try and peek his nose along the driver's right side of the car. Not able to do anything with that. Another Ford rather coming up here. Looks like Brian Carey's going to dive along up the inside. Cullen's going to follow him as they head down onto the straight. The Ford GT there helping draft Brian Carey along as they head down the front straight, helping to negate some of the draft that Cullen's going to have as they head down to turn 1. But you can see Cullen making up some ground. It's still not enough, and Brian Carey will lead another lap in the race. Ooh, an onboard shot there as James Cullen nearly runs into the back of Brian Carey exiting the corner. You can see he got on the power quicker, but wasn't able to do anything with that, so he's going to lose a little bit of momentum there to Brian Carey, but that's obviously going to be made back up, as I believe that is Timothy Stoll's Ford GT just in front of them, so they're going to have to try and negotiate their way around him. A lot of interesting opportunities here with the Ford GTs for James Cullen to try and use them as a pick to try and get himself past Brian Carey, but so far Carey is doing an excellent job negotiating through the Ford GTs, placing his car in the correct position so he gets by as the Ford GTs as quickly as possible without opening up a gap for Cullen to pass him. And it's still super close between Ryan Huff and Troy Harder. They're still battling it out for 4th place. You can see Troy Harder being very cautious there on the outside of the Ford GT of Stephen Clark as they head down towards the turn 10 hairpin. Again, no room for Ryan Huff to make a move there as they had a Ford GT on the other side. So being a little bit cautious, but so far he's making it being cautious can get you through the race. And right now they're battling for a good position. Let's see how the rest of the race turns out for these guys.
Yeah, now he's able to make a huff down to the inside of Troy Harder. I'm not even sure. Is he gonna be, yeah, it looks like he might be able to make a stick here. And he does. That's a good use of the draft there. I'm not sure if Troy, I didn't see any particular issues him coming out of the last couple corners there, but he was able to make a good run and get the pass done. 4th position for Ryan Huff.
Yeah, I think Troy Harder got a little bit held up there by a Ford GT exiting the final corner, and then combine that with the draft. That's quite a big factor here, so that just goes to show patience, because Ryan Huff was sitting behind him for quite a long time. Oh, that's Stephen Clark going wide, exiting the turn 3 kink. That allows Matthew Voigt to get past, and that elevates him up into 9th place. So a lot of opportunities. You can see one little bit of mistake can cost you position, and right now I think James Cullen is trying to see if he can't pressure Brian Carey into making just a tiny mistake, but that tiny mistake allowing him to get past. Looks like these guys, again, I mentioned it a couple minutes ago, I think they're quite evenly matched, and so it'll be interesting to see how, if I should say, James Cullen is able to get by.
Well, Todd Carver's into the pits right now, so that's a pretty early pit stop for Todd Carver there. We've only been in this race for a short time. You can see him in the pits right now, and I think according to our spotter there, that's a regular pit stop. So Todd Carver playing a different strategy, and it looks like Dan Gralty's going to take advantage. He's up to 2nd place right now. Just looking at our timing scene, it looks like Wyatt Foster has dropped off as well. I'm not sure if he's made a pit stop or had an incident, but then there's obviously an incident there with Rene Weissflog and Marty Jeffries getting by, and just so many things happening right now. It's I need 2 mouths to get this to all come out, but something I'll try not to say again, but
yeah, it looks like Todd Carver's out of the pit lane, and that is what we would expect a normal pit stop to, the amount of time a normal pit stop would take. So he's really going to be pushing his fuel. There's still over 55 minutes left in the race, so it's an interesting strategy that he's going with. I'll be very interested to see how that plays out at the end of the race.
Oh, Marty Jeffries spinning backwards off the track there, and that's allowed, that's Gilles Moret getting around Rene Weissflog there. Rene Weissflog getting the spot from Marty Jeffries as he went off the track.
And now we're back following James Cullen as he continues his pursuit of Brian Carey. And Carey's almost open up about close to half a second now. That's probably one of the biggest gaps that we've had so far. And it looks like Cullen's going to try and close some of that back up as they head through turn 2. Looks like they've got a fairly open track in front of them for at least a little while. As we said before, it's such a short lap here for the HPDs. It's quite easily to catch traffic. But looks like they'll have a little bit of clean track in front of them. They can put down some quick laps. These guys are lapping top of the field right now, so they're absolutely flying. There's a large, close to 7.5 seconds between these two guys, and then third place, Andy Fuller.
Hey, remember when James Cullen and the Turn 1 Heroes guys had their checkered paints? Those were gross. These are much better. And Lance Snyder, he's coming around Gilles Moret. His shows off the track there, so Lance up to 8th position, I believe. The 8th position, there it is. Driving, as we've named it, Ed Force 1 after the Ironman Tour plane.
Ooh, and this is possibly an opportunity for Cullen to get on alongside Kerry. You can see Kerry staying on the inside, defending that inside line to turn 1, and Cullen not able to get alongside the challenge. If he can get alongside there, he's going to be on the outside, but if he can make it stick, that's going to give him the inside for turn 2. So first he needs to get alongside, though. Brian Kerry so far doing a good job defending that turn 1 and keeping Cullen behind him. But again, it looks like they've got clean track, and so far, even without the help of draft or anything like that, Brian Kerry's staying in front, so he's definitely very, very quick here at Phillip Island.
It's actually kind of rare I get to see myself out there on the track, so I'm just going to kind of sit back and might be following this battle for a little while here, so...
Yeah, right now, just taking a look at quick look at our timing and scoring. This is definitely by far the closest battle on the circuit that we have right now. The battles in the 4GTs unfortunately split up. Todd Carver taking that very early pit stop, of course. He's dropped down to a 9th position in the class. Of course, he'll make a lot of that up, I will assume, once everyone else has to make their pit stops. Eduardo Beninca, he's kind of, well, slowed the amount that Foster is leading the 4GTs. That gap is about 3.5 seconds, or 8.5 seconds rather, and then a sizable 5-second gap between himself and Gralty. Bit of traffic on the camera right now. A bit of traffic playing into the battle for the overall lead of this race. Looks like Brian Kerry, he's making a late move there on Marty Jeffries going into the turn 4 hairpin. And you can see that helped to separate himself from James Cullen just a bit. Cullen getting held up behind Jeffries as they was making his way through that hairpin. That's helped to build a bit of a gap, give him a little bit of breathing room as they head down towards the final half of this circuit. But luckily, Marty Jeffries was able to see him there. Didn't quite turn in into the HPD of Kerry, and
big props to Marty there.
Yeah, able to continue on. But you can see the radical dude. Radical of was that James Kuzlin. Yeah, I think he's from California, right? So that's a Californian surfer voice. Anyway, holding Brian Kerry up a little bit there, so that gap that Kerry was able to get is pretty much gone now. You can see the draft closing that gap up even more as they hit down the front straight. Now they're, I believe that's a 4GT just in front, so that's going to hold Brian Kerry up even more. He dives along the outside there, very last minute, going through down into turn 2. James Cullen takes the inside towards turn 2. That was Todd Carver there, so I'm sure Brian knew that he could make that move as long as Carver saw him, and luckily it worked out for both those guys.
Yeah,
Brian Kerry definitely making all the aggressive moves to try to get as much advantage in traffic as he can, since that's the only way he can really see to get some space between himself and James Cullen.
Yeah, it's definitely tough at this point of the race here, but just mention about John Kuzlin being surfer dude. There is a last picture that I've seen of him that they've had on the ISRA site. He does look like the dude from the Big Lebowski, so I assume he is at this point, so that's what I'm going with. You can correct me if I'm wrong there, which I'm pretty sure he won't, because that's actually pretty awesome.
And it looks like some 4GTs here holding up Brian Kerry, but luckily for him, there is no room for James Cullen. Gonna take a little peek there on the inside. They're going into the final corner. Kerry holds him off, pinches him out there. You can see it looks like they're lapping John Kelly there, going along the straight. Brian Kerry getting a little bit of extra draft to keep him as far ahead from Cullen as possible. René Weisflag off again in the final corner. I think he's going to lose a spot there. I think he lost that to Matthew Voigt.
Oh, sorry,
Marty Jeffries. Okay, yep. Matthew Voigt, I believe. Yep.
Yep, you're right.
But again, this battle for the lead in the HPD, very intense right now. Brian Carey pulling out all the stops to try and keep in front. And so far, he's managed to do so. He's done a pretty remarkable job so far. James Cullen hasn't turned down the pressure one bit so far in this race. I think we've been going for, 25 minutes now. So very intense battle that doesn't show any signs of slowing down whatsoever in the HPD. And we'll take a quick look here at the 4GTs. Looks like Todd Carver's working his way up the field after taking that early pit stop. He's fighting with Stephen Clark right now for 8th place in the 4GTs.
Yeah, this is where it gets a little more difficult with that early pit stop there. It puts him back in some of those slower cars who are... It's not like he's lapping them. I mean, he's typically faster than some of these guys here, as Todd normally runs up front, but they are battling for position right now, so getting past them won't be as easy as if he were lapping them, I guess. Could have said that a little bit more eloquently, but I didn't. And my screen just went blank. I assume something interesting is happening. There we go. And still got to remember to move my mouse around, otherwise my screensaver kicks in. Point is, getting around Stephen Clark, even though Todd Carver probably has the speed on him, will not be easy. Oh, and then some Kaiser guys coming through here. My colleagues Dan Crony and Anthony Muniz are coming through this battle here. As I say that, in that battle, Todd Carver has got past Stephen Clark.
And another quick, two close battles here in the HPD, a little bit, although one of them a little bit further back. Just back for the one overall, Cullen's still trying to chase down Carey. Carey's doing a good job holding him off. I just go back on board. I think as I saw that move between myself and Dan, I remember that was an oh crap moment because I didn't know Dan was coming over, so it was a little bit of a oh crap, I don't want to run into my teammate moment there, but luckily there was just enough room for us to get by. Oh, and Cullen have a huge spot of oversteer there coming out of the turn 10 hairpin, and he's very lucky to save that one. Look, that's good for Brian Carey. He's able to put it's not as good as I thought it was going to be because he gets held up behind Daniel Gralty. Cullen's going to have a great run coming through. He didn't get held up at all. He's going to be on the inside going to turn 1. Looks like he's going to have the position. Let's see if, he moved over just a little bit. Let's see once we can go back outside if he's going to have the position, but I think he's going to have it. He had a great run coming down towards turn 1, and he does. So I thought that was going to be advantage Brian Carey because of that position, that oversteer that he had coming out of turn 10, but just he got held up in the wrong place, and but now Carey is battling back down towards the turn 4 hairpin. He's going to be on the inside, and let's see if he can pitch him out coming out of the corner. He's got the positioning, and he's going to take the position back from James Cullen, so Brian Carey loses a spot for a couple corners, but maintains first position over this lap. So again, intense battling here at the top of the field.
Not that I'm biased or anything, but that was awesome.
Yeah, that was indeed a great exchange of passing maneuvers here by these two very talented drivers. You can see both of them pushing to the absolute limit, trying to find an advantage on one of each. Oh, go ahead, Brian. You got something on the tip of your tongue?
Yeah, I know. Basically, I was just saying that where it looks like James got loose there. I thought he had done that on purpose, realizing what the traffic was going to be like and trying to pinch me off in the last corner there, getting stuck behind the Ford GT. But then I see now that, no, he had actually made a mistake and almost spun out. It looked genius at the time. I was just like, oh, you clever son of a... But then he mentioned after the race, he's like, no, I didn't do that on purpose. I had actually I'd almost spun out. So we saw the evidence of that there.
Making the dive around Timothy Stoll there in the Ford GT, heading through turn 2.
Wyatt Foster, actually.
Oh, was that Wyatt Foster? Oh, my mistake. They have similar painted cars, but yep. Not playing a factor in this battle, and it looks like they've got a sizable amount of clean track in front of them, so be able to run flat out here for a little while. And Todd Carver trying to continue his move back up the field after that early pit stop. He has Matthew Voigt and Renee Weissflug just in front of him. Oh, and Renee
is off the track. And so is another car.
That's Tim Stoll right there.
So that's a couple positions right there for Todd Carver. Just right there. Just nice, as easy as can be.
And Stoll looks like he has some suspension damage on that car. He definitely has a bent rear wing there, so that's not helping. I thought I might have saw his car kind of crabbing just a bit, but he seems to be keeping up his speed just fine, so maybe he didn't. But
good news is he isn't on fire.
Yeah.
I think everyone's happy about that. Wait, no, okay, no, he's not on fire. That's good.
But he has fallen down into 8th place. So, and that's Todd Carver off there at the turn 4 hairpin, and he's way off in the dirt and still off, losing time and positions here to Stephen Clark and Timothy Stoll. So, a lot of guys making mistakes here. Yeah.
Holy, look at this.
Wow.
That's 3 cars right there. That's, let's see, John Kelly, Troy Harder, Ryan Huff. Are they all battling for position? No, John Kelly's being lapped at the moment, but still, this is a battle for position right here. Troy Harder in 4th, Ryan Huff in 5th, and that was a lot of HPDs in a very, very small space. And a Ford GT, I think, in there, too.
Yeah, they were going so fast, I kind of missed out. But, yeah, that was so close. And it looks like Ryan Huff has lost a position, too. Oh, wow. And Jules Moret splits the 2 Ford GTs going through the turn 10 hairpin. Timothy Stoll runs wide, and that allows Todd Carver to get his at least one of the positions he lost back. And that moves Carver up into 7th. So, yep, back into the battle I was about to talk about. Looks like Ryan Huff has lost the position to Troy Harder somewhere on the track. We've been following the very close lead battle in the HPDs that we've kind of missed out on other things that were happening in a little bit lower down the field. But those guys battling very close. And Tim McLeish is, I'm assuming, passing someone. Yep, that must be it.
Just fine, because I'm pretty sure Troy Harder and Ryan Huff are both side by side right now, but I'll let you guys at home kind of imagine what that would look like.
Well, you don't have to imagine this close battle, and it's kind of what we've seen so far this race. Brian Carey just holding off James Cullen, and I think Brian Carey has led every lap so far this race. Well, maybe not. Maybe Cullen was scored ahead when he was ahead for about 3 corners before Carey was able to overtake him. But like I said, it's been so close. Yeah, it's been so close between these two guys. It's very hard to tell, and a little bit of traffic coming up. So see if that plays a factor in these two guys. But Brian Carey has been negotiating pretty well so far this race. So he had that one mistake. Well, it wasn't really a mistake. It was just he caught him at the wrong spot at the final corner. James Cullen's going to try to do a little undercut here on Brian Carey. Didn't quite have the room. Carey held a very low line. Didn't give Cullen the room to use the cutback that he had. And like I said, Carey's having very good car placement, just keeping James Cullen from getting a good run coming off of any corners. You can see there he pinched him down low through the final corner, so he couldn't get that massive run like he did when Carey got stuck behind Gralty. Cullen's got a nice draft on Carey, but not nearly close enough to make a dive alongside. And Carey's going to lead another lap.
All right, now we got Anthony Muniz and Dan Crony here. I swear Dan is not doing this on purpose, but here we go, getting a chance to see these guys battling, and looks like Muniz he's got to the inside here really early in the outside corner. I assume that's going to end awesomely, but we're not going to see that. We're going to see Todd Carver and Stephen Clark. That was such a tease. Like, it was like 3 seconds of an awesome battle on there.
Yeah. Well, Muniz got by, but then I guess because Carver is... Well, actually, he was lapping. I gotta fix that. It should know.
No. That was for position. That was for position.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It was. Look at that. Okay. Yep. And because actually they were even, so it just chose them. In other words, Todd Carver just took the 6th spot, and Anthony Muniz is currently in the 6th spot. So random luck, unfortunately, said that the Ford GTs got the preference.
And by even, what Dan means is he is an algorithm that will basically determine what is the most exciting event on the track, and they are scored, I guess, a number value, I assume, and that number value came up even, and it just has to pick one, and it just decided that was what it wanted to show.
We've got some close battling here between Jules Moret and Lance Snyder. Lance Snyder, of course, passing Moret as he was recovering back on track as he went wide through that very corner right there. And it looks like Moret is pretty quick right now. He's actually getting on the brakes there, heading down towards turn 4. Could be along the inside, and Lance Snyder looks like he either missed his braking point or really wanted Moret to have that position.
Yeah, I don't think Lance was going to push the issue too hard there. It looked like Moret was faster, so... just kind of let off the gas there, let him take the position, and continued on. Gilles has been off the track a few times already, so maybe Lance is counting on perhaps it happening again, or at least trying not to let it happen when he was right beside him and get taken out by it. So.
I'm not sure if Lance has it locked up yet, but he is very close to locking out the Clean Driver Award for season 9. So I'm sure that if he hasn't locked it out already, I'm sure that is kind of playing part of his race strategy so far. He's been very clean so far.
Oh, no. And as we talked about it, he almost went off the track. So maybe we should just let that go and see how it ends up at the end of the race here.
Ooh, and look how close the battle for the overall lead is. James Cullen gets a nice draft. He's going to pull to the outside going down towards turn 1. He's going to be alongside Carey as they head into the corner. Let's see if he has it. Ooh, I don't think he quite has the position because he didn't quite take the apex there, but he's going to be along the inside.
Right now.
Yep. He's got the inside here, and as long as he can hold it, he's got the position. Yep, Carey has fallen down to second place. So let's see if Carey can't battle back. We saw him overtake Cullen quickly the last time he got around. Let's see, he's not quite as close as he was last time to make a move on the alongside into turn 4. So right now, looks like James Cullen has overtaken Brian Carey for the race lead.
Now back to Ryan Huff trying to get around Troy Harder here. He's got some, looks like Matthew Boyd up ahead, so let's see if nope, looks like Ryan wasn't able to take advantage of that. And see, that's a temptation too, is part of playing traffic is know when to carry your momentum and not. And when you're battling hard with someone as close as these guys are right now, kind of the instinct is to try to stay as close as possible. But you saw when James had made that initial pass on me, basically sometimes hanging back and getting a better run is the the best idea. So it's kind of hard to know exactly what to do. And more often than not, you're going to choose try to stick as close as possible to the guy in front, but doesn't really give Ryan the opportunity to get enough momentum to get around Troy in this case. So we'll see how he does in the next couple corners here.
And Phillip Island definitely is as Troy Harder has a tough time through. Oh no, Ryan Huff touches the grass there along the right side, going down towards turn 10, spins the car a couple times. Luckily, it keeps it off of the any tire barriers or anything like that, but he's lost a lot of time. That's quite unfortunate because he was having such a great battle there with Troy Harder. But he got a little bit caught out, I think. Troy Harder seemed to have a issue going through. Yeah, he's going to take this opportunity to pit. He can definitely make it from here. So he's lost a little bit of time. He'll decide to... I don't know if he was planning to pit there, but he decided to make it the time to pit. But Troy Harder was a little bit out of shape heading down through turn 9 and down into turn 10, so I think that caught him out a little bit there, unfortunately. Yeah,
no, Troy at the top of the hill there and the Lucky Heights there got really loose. Ryan had to try to avoid, and basically you're in such a nice edge there, put him off the edge of the track. So we've seen that a few times, and it's really difficult passing slower cars there, let alone an LMP that you're trying to avoid at speed. And it looks like Muniz has got a good run in Crony here, so let's see if he's able to make a pass. Nope, just sticking his nose in there, letting him know that he's there, and continuing on. He probably won't have another chance until the front straightaway to make a pass here unless Crony makes a mistake, but we'll see there as Gilles Moret is passing...
Ryan Huff, I think. Isn't he on the same lap
yes,
still?
He will be. Perhaps, or close to anyways. Oh, Ryan Huff coming out just ahead of Gilles Moret, so Ryan Huff is able to hold on to 7th position, so position-wise, he didn't really lose all that much, just a couple of positions there. So he'll be good to go to the rest of the way, so seeing if he can put in some good laps right now to kind of Muniz and Corny there, I believe, where his direct competition as he came into the pits, these guys were just behind him, so I got Muniz probably not quite close enough here. We get to see a little bit of the draft. He's able to hold on to him here and see what he does the first couple corners here, because going into turn 4 will be another opportunity to pass, and we're getting late, pretty long run on these set of tires. So the grip he had going through is very, very difficult, almost off-camber corner it seems. Just coming out to the apex right here. It just doesn't seem to offer the grip that other places do. Really, once the tires are starting to wear out, might be a good opportunity to take advantage of someone's less fresh vehicle. It's a pretty nice camera shot of Anthony going around the hairpin there. And going into the second hairpin here, which seems one of my teammates here of giving them some trouble in practice during the race. And where Anthony's first spin was there, just he was up in 3rd place and looking back from James Cullen now.
I had an off there too, I think on lap like 2.
Ooh, and Cullen actually very slow here going through turn 1's, lost a lot of time to Brian Carey. You can see that was the Ford GT of Marty Jeffries causing that. And Brian Carey is now able to close the gap up a little bit. Cullen built a little bit over a second on Brian Carey once he was able to get by, but I think the big factor is that Cullen isn't way ahead at this portion of the race right now, and even once he has gotten ahead, he hasn't been able to build much of a gap. So Brian Carey kept keeping it very close here, and we're just about halfway through this race. So definitely looks like it might come down to the end. So this should be exciting.
Looking back from Dan Crony here as Anthony Muniz going around the outside of next to that 4GT was, but an interesting camera shot there. And now Marty Jeffries and Tim McLeish battling hard. All Canadian battle right here. It's funny, after seeing some of the shots of the HPDs and falling around those 4GTs, you can really kind of visually see the speed difference between those two classes of cars. And Muniz still tracking down Coney there. We are past the halfway. Halfway was at 37.5 minutes, so we're probably about 2 or 3 laps past the halfway point. Pit stops could theoretically come at any time, but these guys tend to run a little later. As Muniz was he spinning? Was he not spinning?
I don't think I spun there. It was almost if I didn't.
Oh, it's up to the viewers to decide if what had actually happened there. But let's see. We got Marty Jeffries, and there's a Turn 1 Heroes car. I'm not sure if that's Wyatt Foster or Tim Stahl. Tim Stahl it is. Well, actually, I'm not quite sure. Tim Stahl is actually 5 laps down right now, so. And Wyatt Foster is leading. Wyatt Foster, that's what it is. So that's your race leader coming up to 9th place, Marty Jeffries. So yeah, no, these guys look like they're well, should be giving away any second. Oh, there he goes. Wyatt Foster through, and see if Marty can use this opportunity to get a good run on Tim here. But they're coming down to the tight turn 10 here. Oh no, there he is. Well, guess what, Marty? Julio, you are now safe. We have now Dr. Jeffries, proctologist.
And look who's right behind him.
Passing the torch, if you will. So Julio could just be Julio from now, and Dr. Jeffries here as he enters the pits.
Oh, back on board, well, sort of on board, the front nose of Brian Carey's HPD as he looks to chase down James Cullen. Still only about 1.5 seconds separating these two guys, so you can see Cullen's HPD just up there. He gets takes a little, the exit curb and then some there as he exits the turn 6. So again, the gap not increasing like we've seen in past races. Carey able to keep the gap very, very close so far, and these guys should probably be pitting here pretty soon, where we're down to about 31 minutes left in the race. Like Brian said, halfway was at 37 minutes. So these guys can, HPD can go, it's pretty flexible because full tank can go about,
And there's your nemesis corner right there.
Yep.
It is spinning out. Find a way, and there's John Kelly, not to be undone here, or done a full 360.
I hate these trees.
Yeah, he's going to hide himself behind the tree, so...
Yeah, hiding his shame.
Yeah. Oh, and unfortunately, Kelly losing quite a bit of time there because of other cars going, but I don't...
Well, he's already 3 laps down, so...
And he doesn't have anyone to pass him. Brent Briles is the next car down, and he's retired, so... Just kind of turning laps at the moment, but and just kind of keeping out of the way of any lead battles. You can see the battle for the overall lead right now, under a second once again. So Brian Carey's closed the gap, probably a little bit of traffic assisting in making up some of that time. But you can, you can see it, James Cullen up there under a second. So see if Brian Carey can take advantage of that. Like I said, pit stop should probably be coming into play pretty soon.
It's just in the pits right now, actually.
Yep, so probably following in Ryan Huff's footsteps, having a spin, losing the guy in front, and just deciding, pit now and see what happens.
There's a lot of different strategies here, too. These LMPs definitely do run better on fresher tires. That being said, they don't run a lot better. Sometimes lower fuel kind of equal things out. And after you get about the first 5 laps under your belt, lap times do tend to stabilize a little bit, so... just depending how close you are to your pit stop, maybe pitting ideally 2 laps before your rival might gain you maybe a couple seconds. That being said, you probably set your fuel at the beginning of the race, so your pit stop time is limited by the fuel in most cases, and depending whether you pit now or pit later, you're still going to have the same amount of pit stop time. So good to get things switched up. As Dan Coney, they're coming off the last corner. It looked like he got crazy loose, chasing down Troy Harder. So this is a battle for 4th position right now. Right now, Ryan Huff is...
Oh my goodness.
Oh, look at that. That was a...
a bit of contact there, I think.
Yeah, Russell Cow and Dan Coney getting together. It looks like, wow, that was pretty intense. Kind of like spinning to avoid and then coming back together. So I'm not sure, was there any damage from that, Dan?
Very, very little. 3 seconds of optional, and it wasn't really impacting me during the race, but it was my pit window anyway, so I decided to pit for it.
Oh, your race leader in the Radicals. No, sorry, the Radicals. I can't quite pull off the enthusiasm there. I need to watch more Keanu Reeves.
Russell Kyle, actually, he's off again, so I'm not sure if he has any damage, but he
took some more significant damage from that.
Okay, so he's lost quite a bit of time to Julio Palacio, and he was, I think, over 10 seconds in front, and he's down to about 2.5 at the moment. So that damage obviously having quite a bit of effect to him. He had that off at turn 2, and then he had another off. So you can see, I think I actually just caught Palacio's car just at the end of the shot. Yeah, actually there it is right now. So I think we should see Cal pulling into the pit lane here. Yep, and there he goes right now. So obviously a bit more significant damage. He has to pit to take care of that, hopefully get that fixed, but it is definitely in his pit window, so I guess it kind of, if it's going to happen, this is a good time for it to happen, so it's not impacting your race as much as if it were happening at the very end or at the very beginning.
We're on the nose of Gilles Moret for reasons I'm not quite sure. I think perhaps there's something going to happen here. Oh! Andy Fuller coming around to lap him, and there's and Anthony Mutin is coming by to take position, so that's what's going on.
And that was actually right there on the rear of Fuller's car. I'm not sure. It looks like he's able to... He actually got away from that very lucky, because that is a pretty delicate part of the HPD, and you can see right where Moret made contact with him. It's pretty easy to bend that rear suspension, which makes the car, almost undrivable.
Is there
in
a
a straight
non-delicate
line.
part of the HPD?
Well, yeah, that's okay. Fair point. But that's probably one of the more delicate parts of the already delicate HPD.
He was hitting his tender area, is basically the polite way of saying that.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the leaderboard just to find out what's going on here. We've got Fuller, who has yet to make his pit stop. He's about 12.5 seconds behind the race leader right now. A full 24 seconds ahead of Troy Harder in 4th position. Ryan Huff, who has made his pit stop, is 43 seconds now behind Troy Harder. And Daniel Coney, having made his pit stop as well, is 11 seconds ahead of Anthony Muniz, but a little ways behind, maybe only 2.5 seconds behind Ryan Huff right now. Trying to figure everything out, see where everyone is.
And I believe, James Cullen into the pit lane now, so Brian Carey is back in the lead of the race. Be interesting to see where those guys come out once they finish their pit stops. So I can see Cullen, actually that was him just pulling into his pit box. So probably roughly 30 seconds or so until his service is complete, and he'll be back on track. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes out in relative to Brian Carey. There wasn't a huge gap between them. I think maybe a maximum of 2 seconds. So they should come out fairly close.
Looks like Troy Harder's going to take the position in the pits ahead of James Cullen there, and he does. But Troy obviously not having made his pit stop yet, and I think by the time that James comes into range of Troy, Troy will have to dive in for a pit stop. Gilles Moret and Anthony Muniz here battling for position.
And we'll watch Stephen Clark roar down the front straight as he gets past Must have been Matthew Voigt, I believe. Oh, wow, and that's Ryan Huff rocketing past the Ford GT of Stephen Clark as they head down into turn 1. That's a good example of the speed difference there between the slowest class and our fastest class. And also, Brian Carey makes his way past Stephen Clark, who he has yet to make his pit stop. So he's trying to get through this traffic as quickly as possible, and I hope he can come out in front of James Cullen. Right now, James Cullen, you can see we're on board right with him now. Looks like he's battling with some lap traffic. Of course, John Cullen not really racing with anybody at the moment, and a couple Ford GTs there. So Brian Carey is really hoping that more of this happens to James Cullen, although it looks like there's a pretty clear track in front of him. But the more Cullen gets held up with guys that he is not racing, the better for Carey, because that hopefully allows him to get past in the pits. So we'll have to see how that plays out.
Fuller and Harder are in the pits right now. So we'll see how that plays out with Dan Quoney there. It's Stephen Clark and Matthew Voigt battling for 5th position.
These guys have been keeping it pretty clean so far this race. I think both of them have had a couple offs here and there, but no contact or anything like that. And pretty clean race that they're having is showing both those guys up into pretty good positions, 5th and 6th. As Ryan Huff going very wide, almost catching the grass there as he goes through turn 1. Looks like he's battling with, he's not actually battling with Lance Snyder.
Yeah, but Troy Harder's up ahead there, and that's what he's battling with.
Exactly, yeah. So he's hasn't really lost all that much time to Troy Harder, although has Harder made a pit stop yet?
Yep, he just came out of his pits.
Okay.
That was him just coming out of his pits, actually.
Okay, I gotcha. And now James Cullen, and you can see Brian Carey just exiting the pit lane now. So Carey going to not, unfortunately for him, not going to be making a pass in the pit lane. You can see Carey right there. So he's going to be coming out, probably going to equal out to maybe roughly 4 seconds. So I'll update you once the timing and scoring actually settles down once the pit stops cycle through. And now looks like Ryan Huff's able to get past Troy Harder somewhere. Unfortunately we missed that when Cullen was retaking the race lead, but good move there by Ryan Huff that we weren't able to see.
Let's see if Troy Harder is able to come back on him right now. This is going to be kind of a difficult. After having left, Ryan Huff had pitted earlier, so Troy Harder going to be the same amount of fuel, but Troy's going to have the fresher tires here. So once probably this lap here come on halfway through, his tires will come up to temperature, and he should be able to battle through.
Oh,
That's
wow.
a little bit of a holy crap.
So was that.
That black streak on the tarmac is not oil. That is something else, and I'm not sure why it's black, but let's just stop asking questions. But anyways, as Troy Harder is coming around here to, let's see, after a little bit of a moment. But the point is that Troy's going to be on fresher tires, same amount of fuel, so Troy theoretically should have a car advantage here for the rest of this, 21 and a half minutes we have left to race. By the way, if it's coming out black, then something's wrong. I suggest you see a doctor.
No, it's just the Pepto-Bismol.
Actually, perhaps Jeffries. Oh,
good idea. That is James Cullen off at turn 2, goes very, very wide. I wasn't going fast enough to rocket himself into the tires there, but that allows Brian Carey to take first position back. And James Cullen dropping back to, roughly, the gap's opening up to about 4 seconds right now. We'll have to see how much that, if that opens up any further. But unfortunate break for James Cullen there, pushing his car a little bit too hard. And this is Timothy Stahl, who is off at, I'm going to assume, turn 2, kind of floundering in the sand right there, and
floundering.
he seems to have quite a bit of front-end damage to that car, so not the race for Timothy Stahl, unfortunately. He's down in 10th place.
His previous incident with the pit wall there earlier in the race, so...
No, I did not.
Lots of damage
that was when Renee went off as well.
In the trunk.
Oh, yeah. Oh, geez, I hope that guy's... Oh, that's unfortunate.
I hope he's okay.
Yeah, because that would be... You hate to see someone hurt in a situation like that. In a kidnapping like that.
And if he's not okay, then that was, all for nothing. So hopefully he's okay. As the we'll go back to talking about racing, as the gap between Troy Harder and Ryan Huff has closed up, as Brian predicted that it would once Harder's tires came up to temperature.
Yep, just as I predicted. I'm extremely smart, apparently. Anyways, Stephen Clark now is coming through. Looks like he's going to... Matthew Voigt's in the pit, so that's what we're going to be looking at right now to see if Stephen Clark's able to take that position from him. And Matthew Voigt's coming out at the moment. A little bit of a run. It's a good pit lane to get up his speed here, but let's see if he's able to... cars are flying past him right there, and there's Matthew Voigt's probably around there somewhere.
He did get past Tim McLeish, though, who was still in the pits.
Okay. So that's something there. And the gap is about 6 seconds right now, so between Clark and Voigt, that is. So as you can see at home, there are events happening on the track with certain drivers, and certain things are going on, and we will keep you posted.
Sort of.
In a manner of speaking, yes.
A little bit of there's Matthew Voigt just up the road right there. So a little bit of traffic, 4GT traffic, breaking up the battle between Troy Harder and Ryan Huff. That's the number 70 of Corey Davis, who we haven't actually seen much of, but he's having a fairly solid race. He's running P3 at the moment. And he is 16 and a half seconds off Daniel Gralty in second place. So not really a battle there, but both those drivers having a fairly solid race so far. It looks like Daniel Qualroni also is kind of inching his way up to the battle between Ryan Huff and Troy Harder. He's roughly about 2 seconds back from Harder right now, but seems to be doing pretty good in traffic and closing that gap up. It was quite a bit more than that once their pit stops were done. So it'll be interesting to see if that becomes a three-way battle. Meanwhile, as James Cullen catches more dirt there on the side of the track, he's trying to his best to catch his way back up to Brian Carey. You can see Carey just out of leaving the shot right there. He's got about 2.5 seconds before he catches up to the race leader. So we're down to the final stages of the race now. Brian Carey is leading. A couple mistakes by James Cullen has really cost him quite a bit. Carey was very strong in the first part of the race, so let's see if he can show that same strong pace again and keep Cullen behind him. Cullen doesn't have a whole lot of time left in the race, and now that we're kind of down towards the final stages, some cars have retired, the traffic is a lot more spread out. Not really going to be as many opportunities for Cullen to kind of take advantage of traffic and use them as an advantage to get by Brian Carey. So this will be a very interesting final 17 minutes of the race.
Dan Crony here is closest battles with Troy Harder. He's only 2.5 seconds up, and he's less than 2.5 seconds up the road. That was a quick pass as Troy Harder is off the track, and then puts Dan up to 5th.
Indeed it does, and he's got a about close to 5 seconds between himself and Ryan Huff. So Ryan Huff staying fairly consistent here in the final stages of the race. We remember he did pit earlier, but the little bit older tires on his car not really seem to be a factor so far. He's running strong in 4th place. And James Cullen, he's really starting to try and put the pressure on Brian Carey. He's dropped the gap to about 2 seconds so far. That gap was probably close to 4.5, maybe not quite 4.5 seconds between Carey and Cullen once Cullen went off at turn 2. So we've got about 16 minutes left in the race. I'm not sure how many laps that's going to be. I don't want to do all that math in my head, but not a whole lot of time for Cullen, so it should be a good final bit of the race.
Well, it's probably about 12 laps or so left, 11 or 12, I would guess at this point, maybe 10, maybe 6. I don't know. I'm just, like I say, math is not really what we want to be doing right now. There will be, again, a certain number of laps to cover a certain time period.
Nice onboard shot of the, onboard the front nose of James Cullen as they make their way through turn 6. Bit of traffic up there for Brian Carey. Not really going to affect his pace too much as he goes along the outside of... Oh, wow! I think Cullen thought he might have... believe that was Stephen Clark there in the 4GT. I thought looked like he might have thought he was going to stay wide for him so he could dive along the inside. Clark taking the apex of turn 9 as he is totally entitled to do. And Cullen there having a close call here in the final stages of the race.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's tough to do with those closing speeds there, especially think what had happened there is Stephen Clark just got a little bit wide on entry, which at speed, it's kind of hard to tell how much on the limit those cars are. So if you're coming up on him, you think he's letting you by, but really he's almost crashing. So it's very easy to misinterpret that. So.
And Daniel Gralti making a late pit stop in the race, and we're on board with Todd Carver. It looks like he's going to take that position.
Pit stop.
Indeed he did, yep, and he's going to take that second place position away from Gralti, so that moves Todd Carver up to second place. So it seems like that very early pit stop that was Todd Carver made ended up working out for him. He manages to make up a couple positions, although Eduardo Beninca has since retired from the race. Yeah, he is 9 laps down, so...
Now, Gralti's going to have fresher tires at this point, too, remember, so... Like I mentioned before, same amount of fuel in these cars, but now Gralti's got the advantage with fresher tires. And not a very big gap.
Yeah, the gap right now about 2 seconds, and actually that was probably a little bit bigger when Todd Carver first pitted. Of course, that was, so long ago, but Gralti has, after it's all worked out, it's about 2 seconds, actually less now, about 1.5 seconds, so it should be very interesting to see. I'm not actually really familiar with how the tires perform on the Ford GT early in the race, but I'm assuming it's like the rest of them, where fresher tires aren't, if you're not sliding them around, they're much faster. So it should be very interesting. It looks like Gralti is losing time to Daniel Gralti at the moment. The gap's down to 1 second.
Now, I remember we'd kind of shown earlier in the broadcast that there's not a lot of draft happening with these Ford GTs. You get a little bit of an advantage, but not much. They're very aerodynamically efficient that way. I mean, they do have wings and whatnot, but not nearly as much, and not nearly as... whether these things are bulky by any means, but they don't punch quite the hole in the air that these HPDs and to some extent the Radicals do. And there's a car off the track. That's Troy Harder, and that's... I think it was Dan Crony there, unfortunately. Which I believe was an unfortunate incident with another teammate. Looks like that's Corey Davis there.
And that is going to allow, that moves Troy Harder up to 5th place. So late incidents there, unfortunately, playing a factor in that battle. And now back to the battle in the Ford GTs for 2nd place. Looks like that's Jules Mret kind of separating these two guys right now, but that gap is still under a second, and you can see visually it's hardly anything. Also, just want to point out very quickly, as we don't really have a battle, immediate battle for position, the gap between overall leader Brian Carey and James Cullen is about 3 seconds right now, and looks like that has just increased as I was looking at it. So I'm not sure if Cullen is really stuck behind traffic or what, but Carey doing a good job to hold on to that first place position. So, it's over 3 seconds right now, so this should be a good final 10 minutes or so. See if he can't make that up. It's going to be, that's Jules Mret off there at the final final corner.
The right way.
Yeah.
Might want to get that turned around.
Yeah, that was a pretty big off there at the coming out of the final corner. Luckily, it doesn't look like he's made contact with anybody, just lost time himself.
Yeah, he's kind of in a battle, well, not really a battle with Lance Snyder, but it's going to become more of a battle as Lance is about 30 seconds behind him, so... depending how quickly Gilles can get going, and if he's received any damage, that could become something. But what is definitely something is this battle of Todd Carver and Dan Gralti. They've been kind of picking their way, picking their way through traffic. They've been picked through traffic, and it's one of those things where instead of picking someone where you come up behind them and get them pinched in behind someone, use the traffic that's lapping you, and hopefully that after they lap you, you can follow in behind them, and the other driver gets kind of caught up in an awkward moment, gets put offline, and you're able to make a move that way. As you can see, Troy Hyder is going to be coming up on these guys here, with Dan Crony coming up behind and not that's close. And see now, and on the inside of Gralti there. Now, if he gets to the inside of this hairpin here, looks like both of them will go through. And that's going to allow Gralti to get a good run, optimal line through the corner. Carver is pinched, and now let's see how this goes. Gralti's got a little bit of a run on him. Let's see how this ends up at the end of the straightaway.
And Gralty's having a nice line through the final corner there. Gets down to the apex. Looks like he's got a great run as they head down across the timing line.
John Kelly's draft.
Yep, he's going to be alongside. He needs to be able to keep it along the outside there as they head through turn 1. So he's got the inside through turn 2. It's going to be really hard in the Ford GT. He's done a good job so far. When Carver hits the curb, drifts wide, but he manages to hold on to it. And that's Dan Gralty into the lead going into turn 2. That is what a battle there. And ooh, that's the HPD sticking on the outside. Luckily, both those guys able to hold on to it.
Carver's going to have the inside for the next corner. The next one's a hairpin coming up. We're coming up to turn 4 here. Carver's got the positioning on him. He doesn't have the position yet, but Gralty deep on the brakes. Carver coming inside. He's got the position, but can Gralty come back on him?
Doing Carver looks like he's got the position. He's going to hold on to it so far. But Gralty seems to have really good pace right now. If he can get that was a great maneuver he had there in turn 1 to be able to keep it along the outside. They're going through turn 1. That's very difficult to do in these cars. And it was even better that Todd Carver was able to hold on to his line and not drift wide into the side of Gralty's Ford GT after he hit the curb there. So great driving by both of these Ford GT drivers.
Like I said, because I think Dan Gralty's got the faster car at the moment, so Todd Carver can't let him get away. And look at this.
He's so close.
Right back. Yeah. I mean, he's going to take, if he gets past, he's going to have to try to use every advantage he can get to pass immediately, because I think Gralty's going to be able to pull away once he gets clear track. But can he get clear track with 8.5 minutes left?
Not quite as close as he was last time heading over the timing line with 8:30 left on the track. So he needs to keep it close here. Hopefully he can see if he can't get a run going down into turn 2. Ooh, and that's Brian Carey taking both of those guys along the outside there going through turn 1. And he also needs to make those daring maneuvers, because that is James Cullen just behind, about a second and a half, actually less now. Ooh, and he's getting very caught up there between those two Ford GTs. That was another HPD off there through turn 2. But looks like it had minimal impact on the battle between Carver and Gralty. They got a little bit split up, didn't allow Gralty to make a move there going on the down to turn 4 hairpin, but they've stayed pretty close as the battle for the overall lead is at about a second right now. So this is the battle for second in the 4 GTs, and the battle for first in the LMP is both very, very close.
You can see Tim Stahl there trying to nurse his damaged car back to the track, taking his usual line on the outside of the track there, unfortunately. Not a very good race for Tim this round here at Phillip Island, but trying to get as many points as possible by sticking it out.
And Gralty gets a great run there coming out of the turn 10 hairpin, and see if he can't get a nice line through the final corner like he did the last time. He gets right down to the apex. Lance Snyder's going to be there, but that's not going to impact him at all. He'll get by on the straight using his overall top speed. Looks like Gralty's going to be really close, but not alongside like he was the last time. So it'll be interesting. He's going to take a little cheeky look down on the inside going to turn 1. Not really going to make a move there. Wasn't nearly alongside Carver enough, but he definitely seemed to have the pace, like Brian said. Let's see if he's going to be close enough for turn 4.
I've got the HPD coming in between them right now, so if this is going to push Todd Carver a little bit wide here through that corner, it isn't that easy to go through in the Ford GT, but it hasn't given Dan Gralty as much of an advantage as they need to get underneath them going into turn 4 here. So we'll have to wait, and I think Todd Carver has got the speed on him going through this complex of corners here. It's not until we get to turn 10, that hairpin, that downhill hairpin, where we really get to see the advantage that Dan Gralty has. That being said, look at this. He's got a pretty good run coming out of the second hairpin there, and he's going to be coming up into Lucky Heights. This is a very, very difficult corner the best of the time, and these guys might be battling through it.
It is possible to make a dive up on the inside. Oh, and this is the battle for the lead of the race, and Brian Carey under heavy pressure by James Cullen. James Cullen's going to look to the outside of turn 1. He's going to be able to get alongside Carey as they head into the corner. Let's see if Carey's able to hold on. He's going to maintain the position, just able to carry enough speed to get back to take his normal racing line through turn 2, and holds Cullen off for a little bit longer, but Cullen now manages to close that about 4-second gap after losing the car at turn 2, and it's so close. Also, it's about this far the two cars. Actually, I was just about to talk about this battle. It's about the same amount of distance between Carver and Gralty as well. So we've got two huge battles. Ooh, Carver getting very squirrely going through turn 2, loses a lot of bit of time through the turn 2 corner. But Gralty not able to take advantage. He's going to be close, but not going to be close enough to make a dive up along the inside. Carver staying towards the middle of the track, trying to defend. Actually, Gralty's going to make a dive toward the inside. Carver's going to try his best to pinch him off. Gralty needs to track out wide. No, he's not going to secure the position to see if he can be laid out on the brakes. Carver's going to battle back there going through turn 6. Gralty needs to stay alongside if he can. And looks like Ty Carver's going to just barely hold on to that position.
All right, folks, bookmark this at your YouTube channel right now, because this is an epic battle we're seeing for second position. Forget Wyatt Foster, 31 seconds up in the lead. That's old news right now. This is the action on the track. Also, James Cullen about a 10th, right alongside Brian Carey as they head through turn 2. Now he's going to try and look around the outside. That's very difficult to do in the. Ooh, it gets a little oversteer there, exiting the corners. I was going to say that's so difficult to do in the HPD. You have a lot more. You're right on the edge trying to get the most speed you can going through that corner and not going off into the grass, but it's so close between these two classes, these four drivers in two classes, and not very long left in this race for them to make passes. Kerry's doing a good job of holding off the charging James Cullen, and as we can see right now, but Todd Carver has been under heavy. Director is about to explode. I know. He doesn't know who to focus on there. A 10th apart at the most, both of the two battling classes. So it's really hard to figure out which one to focus on. We're so close here, then we go so close to the in the 4 GTs. So on board now with Cullen. There's only going to be a couple more laps left in the race, so Carey doesn't have to hold on for much longer, but Cullen is right alongside. Not a whole lot of traffic in front, so no extra drafting help for Brian Carey to head down the long front straight. But Cullen's not going to be close enough to make an attempt here. He just needs to keep it close. Ooh, and that's Ty Carver drifting wide, exiting turn 6. Daniel Gralty's going to get alongside. This is a hard place to make a pass. He's going to be on the inside as they head down into Lucky Heights, though. Let's see if he can't stay alongside, pinch him out towards the outside. Oh, look at Carver holding on.
Oh, that wasn't the turn I thought it was, so. Oh, maybe
still pretty
it was.
Awesome.
It was, yeah, awesome. But that's Gralty actually taking the position away from Todd Carver now. I kind of lost what corner that was, but Gralty able to stick it along the inside there and pinches out Todd Carver, and that moves him up into second place. Also, this is actually a battle here between Troy Harder and Dan Quaroni now developing up for, for fifth place in the LMP. So close here. Brian Carey able to open up a slight gap between himself and James Cullen of about 0.3 of a second. And Todd Carver's now going to try his best to battle his way back past Dan Gralty, but it's going to be very, very difficult.
Someone off the track there as they go through the trees, and Todd Carver has not given up. He is still right with them here. I say Dan Gralty had the advantage of the tire, but it looks like it's evened out a little bit.
On board the front nose of James Cullen as he drafts up right to the back of Brian Carey heading into turn 1. Not close enough to make a little move there on the inside, and of course, because this is such a momentum track, you can't make a diving move up there on the inside going into turn 2 without basically wrecking the guy that you're trying to pass. Looks like there's a radical up in front, and he easily lets them by to not affect the race. Cullen's close. Oh, I thought he might try and make a diving move up the inside, but not close enough. And with only 1:20 left in the race, we're going to have 1, maybe 2 more laps left in this race. So Carey doesn't have to hold on for much longer, but he's under heavy pressure from James Cullen.
Yeah, I think the white flag will be coming out next, as is about the lap time right now. It takes about 1:10 per lap, so.
Also, Dan Gralty able to pull out about half a second over Todd Carver, which at this stage in the race and the battle that they've been having is quite significant. And James Cullen's going to make a diving move on the inside, gets on the grass, loses, not able to get the power down coming out of the turn 10 hairpin. Carey able to push his way back in front. They're taking the white flag this time by, so he's only got one more chance to try and get around, or a couple more chances to get around Brian Carey. Todd Carver, meanwhile, is caught back up to Dan Gralty to try and take that second position back. Brian Carey staying on the inside to defend that inside line going into turn 1. They're going to be caught behind, I believe that's Tim Stoll there. He goes wide to allow those two guys to go through. These guys are a car lengths apart, and really, there's nothing separating these two drivers right now. Todd Carver, meanwhile, as we're on board with the front nose of his car, he's trying his best to catch up to Dan Gralti and trying to find a way back, but I'm assuming these guys are on their final lap as well, so they're not...
No, they've got this and one more.
Do they have one more lap? Okay.
Yep.
So he's only got... But still, he only has a couple more positions. This is, like
Colin's
we pointed out...
back.
Yep. And there's a... yeah, he's dropping quite a ways back. He's got 3.5 seconds, so I'm not sure if he got caught up behind traffic or what happened there, but the pressure is off Brian Carey. He's got 4 seconds separating himself and James Cullen, so he just needs to drive for a few more corners to bring it home. Meanwhile, Dan Gralti doesn't have a whole lot longer to hold off Todd Carver. Their gap, meanwhile, opening up to about 0.7 of a second. You can see it visually there, and I think he might have overheated those. I think Carver might have overheated those tires just a bit, trying his hardest to catch back up to Dan Gralti. This is their final lap, so they've only got a couple more a couple more spots on the circuit where he can make a pass. And that's actually Brian Carey coming across the line right now. You can see his car there, and that gives him his second victory in a row, I think, right? In the HPDs, that's 2 in a row now.
Yes.
Yeah, so well done there for Brian Carey.
Andy Fuller. Past Jim.
That's James Cullen out of fuel. So Andy Fuller finishes 2nd place. Wow, that's a surprising turn of events. We saw Andy Fuller falling back, and that is why he's out of fuel, just barely making it to the finish line, I think. Yeah, there he crosses now. So he finishes in 3rd place. And wow, what a turn of events there in the HPD. Wow, and we have the couple radicals finishing up. It's Julio Palacio finishing, John Kuzlin taking the 2nd place position. Russell Cow unfortunately retired because of his damage. Wyatt Foster, of course, taking 1st place in his class, and that's Ryan Huff finishing in 4th place in the HPD. That is might be one of his best finishing positions this season, so well done there to Ryan Huff. Troy Harder finishing in 5th, just in front of Dan Quaroni, so good job there to get a top 5 position. We are not watching on track, but Dan Gralti's still in front of Todd Carver, and actually there he is now. He's finishing. That is a hard-fought battle for 2nd place. Well done. What an exciting race.
All right, standings. We got James Cullen now with a 15-point lead over myself, Brian Carey. Anthony Muniz in 2nd place, 22 points behind. Crony 4th place with 68, and Ryan Huff, Andy Fuller, Troy Harder all close together. Now Russell Cow is your season 9 radical champion. Even with that incident, he still picked up a podium because there was only 4 guys running. Yeah. Sam Taylor got drunk before the race and didn't start. So you can see the battles there. Not really a lot going on, unfortunately, participation in this car.
That's close between Bateman and Kuzlin, though.
Ford GT, though. Todd Carver, 2 points ahead of Dan Gralti. Huge gap change there. Corey Davis only 5 points behind them. Unfortunately, Eduardo Benica is now out of the running there, but that's going to be a great 3-way battle heading into the final race at Lord Atlanta. 5 points separating the top 3 drivers.
And what a race we had here at Phillip Island. This is probably one of the most, the hottest contention we've had for the 1st place position in the LMPs. We'll take a look at the schedule now. We've, of course, at the time of last race of the season. Of course, when we're recording this, we've already done that race, so we know what happens. Yeah, no spoilers, but we know what happens. So we should look for that and look for that race. It should be a good one to figure out who wins these championships. It is still open for the LMP class and the Ford GT class, so that should be an exciting finish to the Season 9 GTC. And what a race we had.
Julio Palacio there, we can see on the screen there, earns an epic 5-lap victory over John Kuzlin. That's what you see every day.
Yeah, but what a battle we had in the LMPs and the Ford GTs, rather. It was a great battle between Gralti and Carver there for 2nd place. There are different pit strategies, one pitting super early, one pitting very late, and came down to an epic battle at the end. And then in the LMPs was a great battle between Carey and James Cullen, and that was an exciting battle to watch the entire race. So thanks for joining us for that. That was impressive.
As Dan seems to have passed out of his keyboard there, I'd just like to thank all the admins at ISRA for making this possible. To my there he must have disconnected. So basically to the admins, the colleagues here, Dan Crony and Anthony Muniz for the commentary, to Z1 Simwheel for the excellent sponsorship and rider series, and everyone involved. If you want to join us, visit israleague.com. Season 10 signups should begin in Thursday, so hopefully this will go up before then. Thanks again, and we'll see you next race.